Hey, I'm Sims Munn. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and I just graduated from the University of Alabama in May. I started coming to youth group when I was in 7th grade, and I started hearing about Jesus. And I was overwhelmed and captivated by what I was hearing, and I just realized that if this was true, that there was a Savior that loved me enough to die for me, to pay the price for my sins, then this was worth giving my whole life to. And from then on, I've been following Jesus. Pretty soon after I became a Christian, I realized that Jesus was placing a call on my life, and this call was to follow him. And I realized that in order to follow him, I may have to do or do not do things that could make me less popular in the eyes of my peers. So there certainly was a price that I had to pay in order to be a Christian. But I was able to pay that price when I thought about the price that Jesus paid for me. When I thought about that price, I thought the least that I can do with my life is devote it to the Savior who gave himself for me. So before I was a Christian, I was consumed with popularity. I was obsessed with people liking me. I wanted to feel accepted and loved. But after I became a Christian, I was able to kind of die to that desire to be popular, because I realized that I had all the love and acceptance that I needed in Jesus, the creator of the world who came down and died so that he could be with me. I certainly have experienced a lot of failure in my walk with the Lord. I have committed sins that I thought I would never commit. I've committed sins over and over again that I thought I would never commit. There's been many times where I've been confused about why he's letting certain things in my life happen, or where he is leading me. But one thing I can confidently say standing here today is that he has always been faithful. He has always provided. Even though at first I may not see what he is doing, he has always eventually showed me that he is good and that he loves me. One of the biggest tests to my faith came in my senior year of college at the University of Alabama. During college, I had joined a sorority, and I was really involved with the sorority. Most of my friends were in the sorority. I lived in the sorority house. I had a leadership position in the sorority, and the sorority really dominated my life. It dominated my time. It's where I gave most of my energy to. At the beginning of each school year, we have a time where we will admit new members into our sorority. But my senior year, we denied membership to an African American girl because of her race. I knew that this was wrong, and I knew that I needed to do something about it, but I was also tempted to just ignore this wrongdoing. However, I realized that if I was to follow Jesus, it meant that I had to respond to what happened. So I decided to quit my sorority. I am a people pleaser. I like people to like me. I don't like confrontation. So when I quit my sorority, it meant that I was going to have a lot of confrontations with people. It meant that people were going to be mad at me. It meant that people were going to be upset with me. And it also just meant that I wasn't going to be able to spend as much time with my best friends. I learned in a new way that when we are faithful to follow Jesus, he is faithful to provide everything we need throughout any hardship or situation. Spending time in the Word and in prayer and surrounding myself with Christian friends is what has allowed me to stay focused on Jesus from middle school all the way through college. During middle school, high school, and college, I really struggled with just busyness, with filling my schedule up with schoolwork and sports and extracurricular activities. I have to remind myself that Jesus is Lord of my life, and so he's not just the Lord of my life on Wednesday nights or Sundays at church. He wants every part of my life, and he wants me to glorify him in every single second of my day. In middle school and even into high school, I really struggled with being judgmental. I looked at people that maybe were living their lives differently than I was, and I felt like I was better than them. I felt like I was better because I was a Christian and I didn't do, or I did do certain things, and I just really have learned over time that I am no better than anybody else, that I am just as sinful as everybody else, and it truly is only by grace that I have been saved. It's not because of any good thing that I have done, but it's because Jesus paid a price for me. I wish that I could go back and tell my 7th grade self there are no sins that I am above. In middle school, I felt like there were certain sins that I would never commit. However, years later, when I found myself falling into some of these temptations that I swore I would never do, I was devastated. Because there is no sin that I am above, the only way to fight the temptations of the world is not by my own willpower, but by the strength of the Lord.